I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, our big focus: will there be peace in Manipur after a month of violence in which nearly 100 people have been killed? Today, the Home Minister Amit Shah announced a judicial probe, a peace committee and a CBI investigation to look into 5 criminal conspiracies. The Director General of Police has also been shifted out. Is this enough to bring about a lasting peace? Next on the show, 2 of India's finest big cat experts join us as we debate the merits of India's Operation Cheetah. With 6 cheetahs dying in just a few months, questions are being raised on the viability of this project, which saw Namibian and South African cheetahs being introduced to Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh. If these animals are to become more than zoo animals, India needs to desperately identify massive tracts of land, far beyond what Kuno has to offer. It's only then, perhaps, that the existence of these animals in the wild in our country becomes viable. But first, our top story: a major reshuffle in the police leadership in Manipur, one of the key steps in an attempt to cut down on the simmering violence.
Manipur's police chief, P. Dongel, removed a month after the start of ethnic clashes in the state that have left 80 dead so far and thousands homeless. The new police chief is not from the state, but a Tripura cadre IPS officer who has been rushed to Manipur by the centre. The move right after Home Minister Amit Shah addressed this press conference in Imphal that started with the strong opinion about a recent Manipur High Court decision asking the state government to consider granting scheduled tribe status to the Meitei community.
29 अप्रैल को मणिपुर हाई कोर्ट ने, मैं कोई झिझक के बगैर कह सकता हूं, एक जल्दबाज फैसले के कारण यहां पर जातीय हिंसा और 2 ग्रुपों के बीच में हिंसा की शुरुआत हुई.
After a series of meetings during his 4-day visit to the northeastern state, Mr. Shah said a panel led by a retired Chief Justice will probe the ethnic violence in the state. 6 cases related to conspiracy in the violence will be probed by the Central Bureau of Investigation or the CBI. The Home Minister said a peace committee would be set up under the Governor and Security Advisor Kuldeep Singh and members of civil society. Mr. Shah also warned of stern action against those who looted weapons from security personnel.
और बॉम्बिंग ऑपरेशन करने के बाद जिनके पास से हथियार मिलेंगे उन पर कठोर न्यायिक धाराएं लगाई जाएंगी. तो मेरा सभी से अपील है कि जिनके पास हथियार हैं वो सभी लोग पुलिस के सामने अपने हथियारों को सरेंडर कर दें.
The Union Home Minister has also advised the State Chief Minister on tackling the crisis and winning back trust.
Sir, Saurabh from NDTV. Sir, आप जहाँ गए हैं आपको वेलकम भी किया गया है हर जगह पे, लेकिन स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के प्रति एक मिसट्रस्ट है. इसको लेकर क्या आपने जो राज्य की सरकार है उनको कोई सुझाव दिए हैं, कोई एडवाइस दिए हैं कि इस डिस्ट्रस्ट को कैसे दूर करें?
देखिए, मैंने काफी सारी चर्चा करी है, स्थिति से अवगत भी कराया है, सुझाव भी दिए हैं, मगर वो आपके लिए नहीं है, राज्य सरकार के लिए.
The Manipur government has already announced 10 lakh rupees each as compensation for next of kin of the deceased. The centre has allocated 30,000 metric tons of rice and made special arrangements for gas, fuel and vegetables. The government has also announced measures like a retina scan and biometric registration of people coming in from neighbouring Myanmar and said eventually the Manipur-Myanmar border will be totally sealed. While Amit Shah's visit to Manipur was welcomed by all groups in the state, the situation continues to remain tense, with reports of firing and attacks being reported in parts of the state. The Home Minister has directed officials to take stern and prompt action to bring back normalcy at the earliest.
The Union Home Minister Amit Shah has promised to return to Manipur in a few days as the measures announced by him today are implemented by the authorities over the next few days to ensure a degree of normalcy returns to Manipur. But the next few days are going to be crucial for the state's future. With Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Guwahati, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, we've got a fantastic panel and to try and see if this peace proposal actually works, Rajat Sethi joins us, Sanjoy Hazarika, Professor Swan, who's head of the Department of Political Science at the University of Hyderabad, Golan Nolak, who is a policy professional and a Zomi councillor from Manipur, Nishikant Sapam is a Manipur Metai MLA, and Hemuchandra Singh joins us, former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly and a minister in Manipur, elected 5 times to the State Assembly. So really distinguished panelists tonight. Golan Nolak, let me come to you first. Firstly, what the Home Minister is trying to do, a judicial review as a first step headed by a judge. Do you welcome that step?
Hi, Vishnu. Yes, definitely. We welcome that step very much. That is also something that we have requested the Supreme Court to consider after violence erupted earlier last month. So it's a welcome step. However, we are a bit disappointed because the details are yet to be out. We still need to know the details. Is there a time frame from the judicial inquiry? Because violence is still continuing. And also, certain measures also need to be in place even as we speak. Violence is going on. So judicial inquiry definitely, but I think the details needs to be shared. And when the state is already complicit in the violence, where do the Kuki Zomi groups go to? Who do we talk to? Even in this judicial, even in this few days that is supposed to be given to the Judicial Inquiry Commission.
Professor Swan, one of the other points that has been mentioned today is that the CBI will open up a probe. They'll look at 5 possible conspiracies. Do you believe that this is important, particularly given the strong allegations and counter allegations from members of both communities? The point being that if there is a conspiracy, then that will be unearthed.
Vishnu, thanks for having me. I think these are a very laudable as well as plausible roadmap ahead, but I think we have to fix immediate culpability and complicity to this whole madness. And I think as the violence spread out very intensively and assume more lethal as well as venal proportion, I hope that good sense prevailed and the central immediately realized that this present dispensation cannot be trusted whatsoever to regulate law and order. There is total collapse of law and order. And if you look at closely the kind of ground reports that you have, if you go from Churachandpur to Leimakhong till Maram on the north, and to Saikul or to Tengnopal district, 22 high-ranking Meitei armed officers are manning this central armed force, and which is very, very disturbing precisely because of certain reports which are viral in the social media suggesting that they are under tremendous pressure from some of these mobilized groups in the valley areas to openly cite them. And there are also instances in which some of these high-rank military officials are directly involved in launching rocket launcher on shooting mortars as well as in burning down villages. And I think these are very, very distressing as well as disturbing. The central government cannot afford any luxury, to wait some more time till the situation turn around. President rules should be immediately imposed. Armed Force Special Powers Act should also be immediately enforced in the valley areas in order to have a semblance of law and order.
Nishikant Sapam, another step is a peace committee. That peace committee will be under the governor of the state. It will have members of both communities. The distrust which we've been seeing, and we've seen it even on our own television programs on this topic in the last couple of days, do you believe that distrust can be dealt with most effectively with this peace committee, which is not judicial? It's just an effort of bringing community leaders on both sides together.
The way I see it, first of all, let me answer to what Professor from Hyderabad University said. See, there may be high-ranking officers in wherever he said, but you have to understand that Mr. P. Tongel, I don't question his integrity, but you have to understand that Mr. P. Tongel was the DG of Manipur, and then you have the top 3 police officers are all Kuki brothers. So, I think so that throwing around allegations, I think, should be taken out of the window. But having said that, now the peace process, in my judgment, is that the law must prevail, must be enforced, and the civil society organizations have to play a massive role in this. Especially civil society organizations from the neutral group, such as the Tangkhuls and the Kabuis and the Manipuri Muslims. Their civil society has to play, the role of connecting hearts, right? But along with that, the rule of law must be enforced at any cost. So that's the way we got to go forward. And I think there's
Vishnu,
always
can I
a solution
immediately
to
come
every
in there?
problem.
Just half a second. So, yes, sir, go ahead. You can make your point. Yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of good political optics to suggest that, the 7 high-ranking police officers belong to the Kuki communities. But remember that the Home, Department is under the direct supervision of the Chief Minister, who in fact is allegedly, complicit in, presiding over this, institutionalized riot system. So I think to say that, 7 high-ranking police officers are in charge of law and order is just flying off the face.
No, but one second, sir. The key point is that there is a new Director General of Police now, right? Rajiv Singh, IPS officer of the Tripura cadre, he's been appointed as the new DG of the police. For whatever the reasons were, if the police was ineffective, etc., is this not an important step at trying to deal with the situation?
Asking me?
No. Go ahead, sir. Yes.
Yeah. I think this is a welcome. It should have come much earlier. Actually,
no, it's come now.
Too late in the day. It's already 4 weeks into the violence,
sir,
and the
let's
kind
just
of
look at
violence
it.
has
The DG was
much larger.
Let's be pragmatic. What has happened has happened. I'm asking you: is this not a welcome step? Rather than blame.
Yeah, this is certainly a welcome step, Vishnu, but it is too belated in the day. It should have come, in the first week itself.
So let's now, and I think in line with the efforts of, I'm sure all of us over here, we want peace. If this is a welcome step, it is a welcome step. What has not happened in the past has not happened. I really feel that we need to discuss this from a pragmatic standpoint. Rajat, let me come to you next. The other important step which has been taken is a strong announcement by the Home Minister and others that communities must be disarmed. If you ask me, then that's possibly the most difficult part of this. Realistically, how is that going to be achieved?
Well, you're absolutely right. That is the most important thing to ensure that there is a common ground between the two communities to come to the negotiating table and be able to discuss out the vexed issues. As highlighted by the Honorable Home Minister, the Kuki militants who are in the SU arrangement, which is a suspension of operations arrangement with the central government and the state government, will have to go back to the camps. They will have to account for all the weapons that they took out of the camp, and they'll have to report again. Similarly, a combing operation would be performed among the Meitei communities who have been able to snatch the weapons from the police and have taken it. Even that combing operation would be done. I think this is absolutely sine qua non for establishing peace in the region. Till the weapons are with the common public, with the village defense force, with the Kuki militants, no discussion can happen. They will be very difficult, next few days as well. We are seeing violence even today, and the primary reason is that the communities are not fully disarmed. I think the step number one that the Honorable Home Minister highlighted is that there will be strict punishments against anybody who is wielding weapons in the next 15 days or so. There has to be, complete combing operation to ensure that nobody, takes advantage of the situation and holds weapons and, or brings in or trades weapon from outside the country through Myanmar route.
Okay.
All of this is important.
And to that end, he spoke about fencing.
Yes,
it should have been done earlier, but he's trying now.
6 kilometer of fencing.
Yeah, that's a crucial step. Absolutely. Shanjoy, how do you assess what's been announced by the Home Minister today?
I think the most important decision has been the judicial inquiry, because that will help not just assuage the feeling of injustice that many people are suffering from and the violence that has been inflicted on different groups, but also hopefully it will fix accountability. And I think that is the most important thing, that peace can come only when there is a sense that justice will prevail. And justice will prevail only when accountability is measured. So I think that's perhaps the most important.
No, but Shanjoy, the problem there, as one of our panelists pointed out this evening, is that it's not even if it is time bound, we've not been told how much time the Judicial Committee has on its hands.
That's okay. These things won't be announced immediately. They're still having a new DGP is taking over. You have a new head of the Unified Command, which is a new practice after several years. So it'll take a little time to find the right person and also to define the parameters of that inquiry, the time frame, and so on. So, it's taken a month to come to this, and let's give it a little time to bring the tempers down. Because, I think somebody was talking about asking the various Naga groups to come in as part of the interlocution and so on. I think it's very important that the people of Manipur together have conversations at some point, and it's the Kukis and the Meiteis who will have to talk to each other, not just interlocutors.
Golan Nolak, how exactly does one go about the process of disarming both communities when both communities view each other with such distrust?
Right, Vishnu, what we're seeing on the ground right now is, on one hand, the state government is saying that the Kuki militants are running berserk. They are not in the Sioux camps, whereas on the other hand, the Kuki Zomi groups are also saying that the vigilante groups that have been the groups that has unleashed violence, looting, rape in the Imphal Valley for the past 3 weeks and more are still out on the streets and are still looting IRB camps and police outposts. So in order to really disarm that, we already have a ground rule with the SOO group, suspension of operation groups. But it is very unfortunate that even in the press conference this morning, Honorable Union Minister did not mention anything about the groups that have been responsible for the violence in the Imphal Valley. Whereas on one hand, there is a strict, the supposedly strict, directives, for suspension of operation cadres to stick to the ground rules. Otherwise, serious, action will be taken. On the other hand, there's a complete silence on what's happening, on those people who are responsible, and also the role of the state commando forces, which many villagers have complained that they are complicit in the violence in the border, in the border
Let me
villages.
just take that across to Hemuchandra Singh. Mr. Singh, do you believe that it's too early to start apportioning blame?
Vishnu, I've been intently and very patiently listening to all the panelists. And I think my narrative would be a bit like, I think, we have to...
Sorry, sir, just repeat that. Your line is a bit bad, but we'll try again. Can you hear me?
First, I mean, like, there are times when you have a truce, that kind of a thing. And can you, because my internet connection is poor, can you still?
Yes, I can now. Just repeat what you were saying.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that the narrative which I would like to share with everybody in Manipur is that we have to first desist from this, blame game.
All right, we'll try and fix the line
with Swan or maybe Golan.
Sir, we'll come back to you. We'll try and fix that line. It's a bit unclear. But Nishikant Sapam, I think what Hemuchandra Singh was saying, that we need to get out of this cycle of blaming each other. Both communities, others have to stop that. My question is, it's almost a repeat of what I asked earlier, but I think it bears reason to be asked again. How does one achieve that?
Yeah, we have to stop blaming each other. It's time to reconcile, time to give peace a chance, and make good sense prevail. And like I said, I think Mr. Hazarika did say that it has to be ultimately the Kukis and the Meiteis, they have to come onto the talking table. But then initially, right now, we cannot go directly because we don't see eye to eye. So it has to be the neutral party who has to start that bridging. And ultimately, we have to talk to each other. And we are all stakeholders of the state. And I mean, for those who came before 1961. So we need to talk, it's our state, and we have to live peacefully. So the rule of law must be enforced, and civil societies, I'm telling you, civil societies play a very big role, especially in Manipur. They are very powerful in their own way, very forceful in their own way. Only they can bring peace talking to each other. So it's totally in their hands. They can influence people. And of course, and the welcome step is that the judicial inquiry is good. I mean, of course, there has to be a neutral person. And so the culprit, whoever started this, so they'll be brought to book, and justice should be served, and justice should seem to have been served.
Professor Swan, a lot of this, not all, but a lot of this started with following a High Court order and a status being given, or the demand for a status being given to one community, which members of the other community had a deep problem with, because they felt that dividing the rights or dividing that status would cause problems to them. They would get few of the rights that they've now been entitled to. Again, I'm careful in how I'm phrasing this. I'm not naming communities. My question is this: would non-implementation of that order be a starting point towards restoring the status quo?
I think the race, therefore, now is to be, dictated by communal patients, which are in a full supply in the public arena in the valley areas. And we should not allow that, communal frenzy to short circuit constitutional norms, values, and principles, which have been elaborately as well as calibrated over times. I think the constitutionality of whether the Meitei community would be entitled to get scheduled tribe status would have to be rooted through established procedures as well as norms, values, and principles. And this is also a very peculiar case, which might also unsettle a constitutional anomaly, because in the famous Indra Soni case 1992, the Supreme Court has specifically laid down the 50% ceiling, which cannot be trespassed or violated. And now, given that the Meiteis already have substantial chunk of reservation in the form of OBC, scheduled caste, as well as EWS recently, giving 7.5% over and above the existing reservation policy could open up can of worms, which might violate the very constitutional foundation upon which reservation policy is erected. Therefore, I think we should be cautious, and we should be keenly looking at how the law and order should be regulated in ways that we should not allow ourselves to be dictated by communal patients, which are in surfeit.
Nishikant Sapam had a point to make. Mr. Sapam, go ahead.
Yeah. Now that you have come down to the ST area, now I want to tell you one thing, that before we joined India, the Union of India, the Merger Act was signed by the King of Manipur. And at that time, all of us, I am saying all of us, I'm not saying only the Meiteis, we all had access to land. We could settle down anywhere we wanted to. In 1951, when the census happened, that is when we were not given the ST quota. ST whatever. Then in 1960, the MLR and LR Act came. And now let me go back, during the time of independence, the population of India was 34 crore. Today we are 140 crore, crossing China. In 1951, the population of India was of Manipur was 5.7 lakh. No. And today we are last census happened in 2011. Today will be almost 40. Please let me finish, Professor Saab. So then what happens is, now 30-40 years down the line, we'll be almost 1.5-2 crore. Now we have been restricted with this MLR and LR Act to the valley and some places in Churachandpur and some places in More. Now the valley is less than 10%, which is probably 9 point something. Now you take away Loktak project, the Loktak River, lake area and the Kabilamjau area, we probably left with 6%. Now do you expect, and in this valley, the entire Manipur Meitei population plus the non-Manipuri Indians plus the Nepalis and everybody, and plus all our tribal brothers are living here. So imagine after 40 years, when the population of Manipur would be like almost 1.5-2 crores, there will be a blood bath.
All right, Professor Swan, you disagree with that?
No, I'm only asking for level playing field.
Can I come in here?
Yeah,
we will vanish
Swan,
from
go
Manipur.
Ahead, sir.
Yeah, you see, the scheduled tribe, demand and how the Meiteis, got left out, so and so forth, makes a lot of political optics. But if you carefully
we were never asked.
The commission reports in the 1950s and 1956, when the modification order was sought to be put in place, the Meiteis, by choice, refuse to, be categorized as scheduled tribe. I think ill-informed politicians like Mr. Khan should not mislead, public at large.
But this is beside the point.
This is beside the point, because the point that emerged now clearly is that the Meiteis far from obtaining scheduled tribe. Their interest in grabbing tribal lands. And remember that since 2010, when Jubilant Energy,
I don't do my programs like this. Can you please lower your voice so that he can make a point?
Substantial oil deposit that Churachandpur and Farzol district now sits on a very rich Assam Arakan basin. Only around that time you have Nisikan and others who have actively mobilized few sections of Meitei societies to demand for scheduled tribe. And this is an end political game that they played. And it is very unfortunate now that a communal frenzy is built around to cater to the political interests of few selected vested political as well as economic
Everybody
interests.
calm down.
And I am
Please calm down. Let's settle down over here.
And disappointed that substantial civil society organizations,
Mr. Sapam, one second, sir. Mr. Sapam, I was trying to
believe into this.
I gave you your chance. Let him make his point as well.
Very ill-informed political discourse. Let us get into the bottom of it. The bottom it is the very few section of Meitei political as well as economic cartels are simply interested in grabbing land, tribal land, so that
sorry, I will consolidate.
All right, okay, both of you, wait 1 second.
We have a major community. We are restricted to 7% of the land.
This is precisely
and
what
hill area is not even occupied by
1 second. Bring down their sound. Bring down their audios, please. Bring down their audios. Thank you, gentlemen. We try and do this over here with a sense of respect to everybody. Now, if everybody is going to be shouting out on top of each other on a sensitive issue, it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible for me to allow this to continue. So if we are to continue, and I'm trying to do that, then please let every side have their view over here. Do we have Mr. Hemchandra Singh at this stage? Mr. Hemchandra Singh, sorry, we lost your audio earlier on. Is there a call for peace at this stage without getting into one community and the other that you can share with us? We had a bad line with you. Go ahead, sir. All right, apologies over there. I'm going to have to wrap this up. Just unable to get that line with Hemchandra Singh. But I think the message over here is that we need to move away from the disagreement. Look at this judicial review. Look at the peace committees. Look at the effort of the CBI, hopefully in bringing any conspiracies to book and stop the communal tensions which have cost so many lives. We'll leave it over there. There's more coming up, including a very special program coming up next. A couple of important conservation discussions with some of India's leading wild big cat experts on the viability of Project Cheetah.
This is NDTV.